If you've spent much time in church, you're probably aware of a list of the character traits called the fruit of the Spirit that Paul listed out in Galatians. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. While both the gifts and the fruit are useful to build up the church, there are some significant differences between them. No person has all the gifts. Paul is very explicit about that. The fruit are developed. Much like any crop, it takes some time and level of difficulty to fully develop them to maturity. Now, as often as I've read Galatians, I've not always truly understood what each of the fruit is or how it can be grown or developed in my life. So let's look at them in the order that Paul lists them. Love is listed as the first of the fruit, probably because it is the most important and the rest grow out from it. It is the most important and fundamental concept of the New Testament. Our salvation is only possible because God loved us so much that He sent His Son to die in our place so that we can spend eternity with Him. The love described here is a self-giving love, agape in the original Greek. It is not the same as my love for mint chocolate chip ice cream or fast cars. It is a relational type of love. In John 15:13, we read these words of Jesus. Greater love has no man than this, that one lay down his life for his friends. It's a choice, not a feeling. And we can only love like this because the Holy Spirit lives inside of us. It is beyond human ability. The second type of fruit we are to bear is joy. Joy is different than happiness. The word happiness is based on an Old English word hap, which is related to happened. Happiness is a result of an event or circumstance. Joy, on the other hand, is something that we choose even when things are not going well. Notice that I said choose. We can choose to have joy in the midst of hardships, problems, trouble, and good times. I can have joy even when I'm not happy. This is because joy is not focused on us and our present circumstances, but on our eternal hope. It begins with our salvation and continues throughout our life, and we know that God works through suffering and hardship regardless of what happens in life, and that we will spend eternity with Jesus. The third fruit that a life connected to Jesus demonstrates is peace. This isn't the peace that the world strives for with an absence of conflict, but the ability to remain calm and quiet in your spirit in the midst of conflict. Worldly peace is temporary at best, but the peace of Jesus is permanent. It is a result from a relationship with the Prince of Peace. A person's peace is developed by love and joy. It's inward and personal and not dependent on the political situation of the world. And Jesus said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." Patience, or as the King James Version translates it, long suffering. The Greek word is macrothermia, which means to have a long fuse. In biblical usage, it is not used to describe passively waiting for something to happen, but actively walking with and trusting God regardless of circumstances or timing of things. As it is a fruit and not a gift, it has to be developed and grown, usually while walking with God during times of testing and adversity. Patience is an attribute of God, and we read in the Psalms that the Lord is a compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger and abounding in love. And I believe it is His patience in waiting for the lost to come to Him that is delaying the rapture. Kindness is another of the fruit, and like the rest, we need the Holy Spirit in us to grow this fruit. As a parent, my wife and I had to teach and continuously reinforce kindness in our children. As a human, we are not naturally inclined to be kind. It is the work of the Holy Spirit in us that allows us to develop kindness as a character trait. It allows others to see Jesus inside of us. As Frederick William Faber said, kindness has converted more sinners than zeal, eloquence, or learning. When I hear goodness, I can't help but remember the old movie E.T., where E.T. tells Elliot to be good. Thankfully, we don't have to wait for an alien to help us develop goodness in our lives. We already have the Holy Spirit to help us be good. Now, goodness is defined as an uprightness of heart and life. It is acting from selflessness and a place where we put the needs of others ahead of our own. Jesus showed us the ultimate example when He died on the cross. Now, goodness is an action and not a feeling. And when we do good, we point others towards Christ. Faithfulness is the only fruit that is also a gift. As a fruit of the Spirit, being faithful is being steadfast and constant. It is being careful in keeping what we are entrusted with the conviction that the Scriptures accurately reflect reality. Like other fruit, faithfulness flows out of God's character. God is described as being faithful throughout the Old and the New Testaments. And like the rest of the fruit, we are able to grow this because of the Holy Spirit in us. The word for gentleness is sometimes translated as meek, but in our modern world, that tends to be understood more as weakness. However, its meaning in the first century was more like restrained might, such as a tamed horse. Not weakness, but strength placed under God's guidance and control. To be gentle requires the submission of our will towards God and a posture of humility before Him. Self-control. This is one I could talk about for a while and probably should be talking to myself more about it when there's ice cream in the freezer. The ability to say no to our baser desires and wants is self-control. As believers, we need self-control because the outside world and our own flesh are continuously trying to get us to act against God's will. We need the ability to control our own thoughts, words, and actions and to develop spiritual disciplines. But we can't do it on our own. No amount of willpower is enough. We need the Holy Spirit inside of us, giving us the strength to resist the forces arrayed against us, for us to live a holy life and be the witness the world needs to see. All 9 of the fruit of the Spirit are important. None should be neglected in our lives. Thanks for watching today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and see you next time.